climate change series of webinars. Hope you're all safe and sound in your homes while we continue to bring the world's leading experts to you. Today we have with us Miss Julie Davis-Colan. Julie co-founded the L Group Inc., a leadership and organizational development firm in 1999. She is an innovative business advisor and peak performance coach with experience in sales and marketing to Fortune 500 companies. Julie has co-authored 6 popular books. She's been coaching and encouraging positive behavior change for 30 years while focusing on organizational health and peak performance. She earned her master's degree in preventive medicine from the Ohio State University's College of Medicine after earning her bachelor's degree in psychology and biology with honors from Florida State University. She's also one of the only 1,200 people worldwide certified as positive psychology practitioner by the Flourishing Center. Her passion for leadership and life creates an infectious energy for everyone she meets. Thank you for being with us, Julie. It's such an honor.
Thank you for having me.
So, Julie, we'll just dive right into the first question that we have for you. What is positivity all about? And is it about being optimistic or being hopeful or something else, according to you?
Yeah. Positivity is about working with the negative and looking at the positive. And so it's about what we consider moving north of neutral. For years in the world, psychology studied bringing people up to the normal, just to, neutral state. And positivity and positive psychology is about moving north of neutral, but not about ignoring the negative. It's about working with the negative to come out on the positive side. So as a discipline, positive psychology started in 1999. So it's not that new, it's not that old, but different disciplines have been working all around that for years and years. And so we now have studies from physical health and mental health to help us understand really what to do to build positivity. And one of the most beautiful things about that is just brain research and looking at how our brain, when we many years ago thought your brain is as it is, that it's just going to be, deteriorating over time. And we now know that your brain can grow and rewire from different studies and the mechanisms we have to study the brain, that it's what we call neuroplastic, that by training it and being intentional, you can create new neural pathways that support positivity and make that the highway, if I might, that your brain takes to solve problems and encounter the world.
So you can actually rewire your brain to, get positive thoughts? Or is it the other way? So you have positive thoughts and it rewires?
Yes, absolutely. And it is a, there's a notion called thoughts that fire together, wire together. Inside the brain, there are synapses, little gaps between your neurons. And those little synapses build bridges, if I might. And the more that thought occurs, the more that bridge builds. And you can think about that sometimes when you think about ruminating on a bad thing. It feels like it happens over and over again. We're trying to do the reverse of that. Take a positive thing and a thought and continue to strengthen that so that bridge is more of a highway to positivity.
Awesome. So, Julie, why is it necessary to maintain positivity? And doesn't cautionary thinking help us be prepared for the future?
Excellent question. Cautionary thinking started because at one point there were saber-toothed tigers behind us and there were physical threats all around. And you might say now there's an invisible threat all around. Isn't being cautious good? It has a place, but positivity is about using your thoughts and being intentional about your thoughts. In particular, looking at things through what we call growth mindset. A growth mindset helps you look at options and look at the possibilities of solutions out there. So what that means, as opposed to a cautionary mindset, which we would call fixed mindset, it limits what you see. If there's a tiger behind you and you're being extremely cautious, you see one action, run. When you use the brain that we were given and think about a growth possibility, it doesn't mean run isn't an option, but it means you have lots of thoughts. It helps broaden your perspective. A woman by the name of Barbara Fredrickson created a theory called broaden and build. And by using a growth mindset, you actually build the possibilities that are available in your mind versus just a fixed mindset where just there's one action. And a growth mindset is very inherent and a very significant cornerstone in positivity. So you want to understand the negative, but not just react with that negative.
Okay, interesting. So, what do you think is the right type of mindset to have, and how do you build that?
Definitely, I would say a positive mindset. There are a multitude of benefits, some physical, some emotional from them, including increased immune boost, increased worker satisfaction, increased happiness, increased worker performance. The list is exhaustive. And building it, I'm going to talk about just a general concept that I think will be helpful for people. So when we look at animals, back in early psychology research, we looked at a dog and a bell and food, and it was a stimulus of food and a response to a dog of salivation. Stimulus response. Animals, if you give them a treat, if you tell them you're going to give them a treat, they might sit if they're trained, what have you. But as human beings, there's a difference between a stimulus and a response, and that is this middle area of choice. So stimulus, choice, response. And we want to think about how we respond to things. Think about our challenges and think about our thinking. And interestingly, as humans, we are given the ability to think about our thinking as early as 9 years of age. And what's fascinating about this is, I don't know about there, but in many of the American schools now, they're starting to teach kids about this so that they understand they can think about their own thoughts and make choices. So it's about intentionally showing up the way you want to, about thinking about your thoughts. You have stimulus, choice, response. And if we start just reacting the way we always have, we just need to take that thought captive and say, how could I show up differently tomorrow? Stimulus, choice, response.
Wow, that's great. I mean, one should start early. I think that, to develop a positive mindset does take a while. I mean, it's not easy.
Absolutely.
Any tips in doing that? How do you do that? I mean, now that we're in the middle of life, how do you just develop a positive mindset, or how do you train your mind into thinking, that the positive is better?
So I'm going to just a few tips that I think might be helpful. There are a litany of tools, but I'm going to give you just a few that I think are most helpful. One is that words matter. The way we frame things in our minds not only affect how we work today, but it also codes them for the way we recall them in the future. So thinking about our words, and the first is I'm going to give you a couple thoughts, and one is the word have to. I have to brush my teeth. I have to clean my house. I have to do the laundry. Well, particularly right now, we're all really realizing that some of those things we thought we had to do, we have to run this errand, we actually get to do. So one simple tip is thinking about the things you say you have to do and replacing the words have to with get to, and understanding that it's actually a privilege to get to do those things. So over time, and literally I do this out loud. I would say, like, I'll find myself saying, oh, I have to do this. I say, stop. I get to do this. So that's a very important reframing. I get to versus I have to. Another just key piece, as I was talking about capturing your thoughts, is the word not. The word not is not easily digested in the brain. For example, if anyone has tried to not eat a certain food over a period of time, the food that they want is that food that they said, I'm not going to eat that. The desire is actually increased because the brain has a difficult time understanding the word not. So instead of saying, I'm not going to do this, don't do this, what have you, tell yourself what you want to do. I want to eat fruit and veggies 4 times a day. Don't worry about what you don't want to do. I want to exercise. I want to take my thoughts captive. So affirming everything versus putting them in the negative. This works fabulous with children as well. It works with employees. It works with yourself. And then the last one I'm going to say is really looking at the area of gratitude. And we've heard lots of things about gratitude over the years and how that really can change someone's mindset. And in particular, there's one activity with gratitude that is actually scientifically proven to help. And it is writing 3 things each day that you're grateful for. And then in particular, how you contributed to those 3 things. So for each thing, write down 1 and then how you contributed. If you do that 3 times a day for 2 weeks, the research shows the benefit of that on your mental psyche can last up to 6 months. So gratitude is a very powerful method, but I would suggest this method, which is a little different, where it really I'm grateful for this, this, and this, but how I contributed to that is a very powerful mental tool to help you show up in a more positive way.
Wonderful. I'm going to try that starting today.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. So, Julie, sometimes we force positivity on ourselves and end up not giving space to our feelings. How do you prevent that?
So going back to your first question, positivity is not about blocking out the negative, it's about working with. And one of my favorite quotes is, unexpressed emotions don't go away, they just rear their head in uglier ways. And that's from an author in the 80s, Stephen Covey. And that is so true. You want to work with your feelings and emotions, not block them. Some common ways that I think are very helpful are, one, writing them down. When you're angry or upset, express your emotions. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you express these emotions that might be about an event or a person and then share them with that person, but merely writing them down and getting them out is a very, very effective way of kind of unleashing their hold on you. If it's something about another person, I highly recommend you write it down and then you consider throwing it away, not sharing it. Because when you're in that deep state of emotional charge, those are not the times to share feelings. But it is helpful to get them out. Also, I suggest thinking of if there's a person you can just share with, a person who's not intending to share with others and doesn't want to solve anything, but knows that they're just your sounding board. You just need to vent, so to speak. A neutral sounding board, and you can be that for one another. Getting those feelings out is extremely important. You don't want to bottle those and push those down. That would decrease positivity in the future.
And once you've written them down, do you share that with the other person that you're angry with, or do you just discuss it?
Not at that time at all. I think it's very important. You can keep it to yourself and then go back and look at that at a time when you are not angered or not emotionally charged, and pick out of that, like, what's the one thing that you might want to share in a non-confrontational time with another person to help resolve that. But often I just think writing it raw is just helpful for yourself, not to share. And never, ever, ever in an email. Oh my, some people just, that technology has enabled us to just rant. And I think that is a terrible idea. I'd say write it personally, then reflect, and then you can take proactive action in a non-emotional state, non-heightened emotional state to resolve the situation. But I'd say that piece of paper is just for your personal expression.
So really, with all the negativity around us and, with the news surrounding us, how do you keep yourself from, being bombarded with this right now? I mean, you listen to the news 5 times a day, you can't help but, just goes near the TV and figure out what's happening around the world. How do you prevent this from happening and, just getting in your brain?
So for me, what I've found, and everyone kind of has their own rhythm, but what I've found, particularly, I have a son who lived in New York City. Well, he lives in New York City. We just got him to Dallas, Texas on Friday, but he was in the epicenter from the very beginning. And he ended up actually getting the virus, and he's fine. Thank you, Lord. But I, from just wanting to be an educated human being and to be cautious and be, on top of the science, I listen to the news 1 time a day in the morning and understand, and I have my sources from which I think I get the credible information, and I listen to that in the morning and I understand what that means, and then I don't listen to it the rest of the day. At this point, you could not have more of an ocean, just like this effort that you've been taken on, an ocean of information that is positive, uplifting, and learning centered that you can delve into. There's no need to continue to repeat information that really doesn't change substantially within a 12-hour period. So I'm very intentional about what I put in my brain, and particularly as it relates to this. What I talked about before, how those thoughts that fire together, wire together. If you go with a dose of negative input, even just about little teeny updates or different perspectives on the virus 5-6 times a day, and it's not from an authoritative source, it's just a news outlet, you're just building that bridge that I talked about stronger and stronger on that. Now you want a bridge, you want to be informed, but there's no need that needs to be, there's no reason that needs to be the pivot of your day and the highway that's taken the most. It's all about intentionally choosing what you put in your mind and then taking control of those thoughts that go across.
Absolutely. Yeah. So news once a day, not more than that.
That is mine, almost like a vitamin. I do it once a day in the morning, and then I'm pretty much finished with that for the day.
No overdose of vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
So Julie, what are the 3 actionable pointers that you would like to advise us that we can start immediately to build a positive mindset?
So I'm going to go back to the words create worlds. Take your words hostage and really intentionally choose them. You can think about the have to, get to, the not. I'm going to give you an example of not, because I didn't give you one before, but if the listeners and viewers would absolutely, no matter what, right now, not think about a pink elephant. No matter what you do not think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a large pink elephant. Do not think about a pink elephant. What are you thinking about now?
Pink elephant.
Pink elephant. And that's kind of an example of how the brain has a very difficult time understanding the word not. So it's just an example of the power of words. So choosing your words carefully. Also, positive reinforcement. I was always big on this with children, with employees, with others, is human beings repeat what they're reinforced what they're reinforced to do. So I even do this to myself, and this is a true story. I had a child, my first child, and I was driving to work the first day, and I looked at the person next to me in the car, and I thought, oh my goodness, that person could do something bad to me. And that was like a random thought, and I thought, stop. I literally stopped traffic, and I sat there, and I made myself look at that person and think of 5 good things that that person could have done today. The innocent person, probably the most fabulous person in the world, and just stop there. Some horns were honking until I repopulated my mind with those 5 things that that person could do, taking control of your thoughts. We know that the bad feels stronger than the good feels good. So it takes at least 3 to 1 within a work group, 3 to 1 positive to negative interactions to offset each other. And in a marriage, if those of you that are home, quarantined at home and or have a marriage, it's 5 positives to 1 negative. So in that example with the car, of me giving myself 5 things that that person could have done that were phenomenal, I was repopulating my mind intentionally with the good that could come and not allowing myself to go with the negative. So I'd say the words, and then the reinforcement in that case is when I finish with that, I literally will say, good job, Jules. And I will reinforce that to myself. You are the only person that is with you all the time. And these positive thoughts are more intuitive to some people than others, but we're all born with what we call a negativity bias. So taking control of those thoughts and changing them into a positive action, it's some effort. So again, we reward what gets, we do what gets rewarded. So I reward myself. Good job, Jules, at every little action. When I reframe have to get to, when I don't use the word not, when I add some positive aspects of something instead of a negative, individual reinforcement. It's all about intentionality and really working on this space between your ears, thinking about it. And over time, just like any other habit, it becomes much easier. But at the beginning, it does take that effort. And to this day, I still reinforce myself all the time for different activities. Emotional, physical, mental, what have you.
Great, Julie. I think it's we need to start doing that, I guess. Just train ourselves to keep doing that and build a positive mindset. I think it's been really helpful. And thank you so much for your time with us today.